I discovered how to learn anything faster than everyone else. You know that feeling when you spend hours studying, giving up your free time, skipping fun plans just to barely pass a test, while that one guy who studied for 20 minutes still gets a better grade? Or when you try to master a new skill, but no matter how much time you put in, nothing sticks? You're working twice as hard for half the results, while everyone else is out enjoying life. It's enough to make you feel like an idiot. But the problem isn't you, and it's definitely not because you need to work harder. The real problem is the slow, inefficient way you've been learning. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 techniques to learn faster, retain more, and stop wasting hours on useless studying. So let's get started. 7. The urgency installment hack. You're learning slowly because your brain is lazy as hell and doesn't see any real urgency. If there's no fire under your ass, it'll happily drag its feet forever. So stop studying like an idiot with unlimited time and force yourself into a situation where failure has consequences. Want to learn a language? Book a flight to a country where no one speaks English. Congrats! Now you have a survival problem. Need to master coding? Be a reckless moron and accept a freelance project before you even know how to write a line of code? Your brain will panic, adapt, and absorb information at lightning speed because now it actually has to. The problem is, most people act like they have all the time in the world. You don't. If you don't set a deadline, you'll keep procrastinating like the clueless idiot you are. Create artificial pressure. Tell your friends you're giving a speech on a topic you barely understand in a week. Announce on social media that you're publishing a project in 10 days. Your brain will switch from, "I'll learn eventually," to, "Oh shit, I have to know this now." That's when real learning happens, when failure is too embarrassing or painful to be an option. 6. The hack it backwards trick. This might sound totally backward and even a little stupid, but for some things it just works. Instead of moving step by step like a slow, clueless idiot, jumping straight to the expert level forces the brain to fill in the gaps on its own. Looking at real-world code before understanding syntax, playing full songs before learning scales, or studying physics through real-world applications before touching theory all shortcut the learning process. Most people get stuck in tutorial hell because they think learning needs to be linear. It doesn't. Experts don't waste time crawling through the basics. They get thrown into real challenges and adapt. Babies don't read grammar books before speaking. They absorb and imitate until things click. Learning this way may feel chaotic at first, but struggling helps your brain make sense of information and do the work. 5. The speed reading hack. I had this massive pile of stuff to study: PDFs, screenshots, class readings, even images of textbook pages, and my exam was the next day. Honestly, I had no idea how I was going to get through it all. Then a friend of mine, who's also a top student in our class, recommended Audius. At first, I wasn't sure it would work for me, but I was desperate, so I gave it a shot. The app could handle everything I threw at it: PDFs, screenshots, even messy images of textbook pages. It read them all out loud with these supernatural voices, which made it easy to keep up.
Fellow students, I look back today to a time before the middle of the century, when I was reading at Edinburgh and fervently wishing to come to this university.
You can listen to any of your documents with me.
You can listen to any of your documents with me.
You can listen to any of your documents with me.
But what really made the difference for me was the synced text highlighting. As it reads, it highlights the text line by line, and that kept me laser focused the entire time. My friend also shared a pro tip: take screenshots of notes or textbook pages, paste them into a Google Doc, and upload it to Audius. I did exactly that, and in no time, I had all my study material turned into an audiobook. I cranked up the speed to 2x and flew through the material way faster than I thought possible. By the time I finished, I felt confident, focused, and prepared. And guess what? I aced the exam with the highest grade in the class. If you want to give it a try, I've left the link in the description or the comments below. For the sleep upgrade technique. This might sound like lazy advice, but sleeping right is just as important as studying. Your dumb brain doesn't absorb information instantly. It processes and stores it after you stop studying. That's why reviewing key information right before sleep forces your brain to organize it overnight. locking it in like a cheat code for retention. Taking a nap after studying helps your brain lock things in, unlike cramming everything at once like an idiot. And no, pulling an all-nighter doesn't make you productive, it just makes you dumber. Your brain needs sleep to organize info, so stop sabotaging yourself. 3. The sensory hijack hack. This might sound weird as hell, but engaging multiple senses forces your brain to absorb information faster. The more ways you interact with the material, the less effort it takes to recall later. Reading silently and hoping for the best is the slowest way to learn because the brain doesn't prioritize plain text. Saying information out loud while moving forces your brain to process it through multiple pathways, cutting learning time in half. Creating crazy mental images tied to facts makes them stick instantly without endless repetition. Adding a unique smell while studying hijacks memory formation, making it possible to recall information later just by smelling the same scent. Learning happens faster when the brain links information to real-world experiences like adding sound, movement, visuals, or even smells to create multiple retrieval cues and make recall automatic. 2. The brutal prioritization rule. Most people waste time on useless details, making learning slow and painful. The brutal prioritization rule fixes this by forcing you to focus on the golden 20%, the small chunk of knowledge that gives 80% of the results. Instead of drowning in information, find the patterns. And in any subject, there are core principles, high-yield facts, and essential techniques that everything else builds on. In math, it's understanding formulas instead of memorizing every step. In languages, it's mastering the most common 1,000 words, not obsessing over obscure vocabulary. In business, it's learning what actually makes money, not studying theory for months before taking action. Trying to learn everything equally is stupid. The brain isn't built for that. Learning fast means spotting the 20% of material that's used constantly and mastering that first. Before diving into endless details, scan the topic, identify recurring themes, and focus only on what gets immediate results. And the faster you apply what you know, the faster your brain connects the dots. And before we jump into the last topic, just know that I went from being a 2-time college dropout to securing one of only 12 spots at Latin America's #1 university in just 1 year, competing against thousands of students with expensive prep courses. Now, I help students from around the world transform their grades while studying 80% less than before and get into top universities just like I did. Click the link in the video description to watch my free masterclass and change your academic future today. 1. The spaced chaos strategy. If you're cramming for hours like a complete idiot thinking that stuffing your brain in one sitting is productive, you're doing it wrong. The brain doesn't work that way. It absorbs information in short, intense bursts and locks it in through repetition over time, not by torturing yourself with marathon study sessions. The spaced chaos strategy fixes this by forcing your brain to repeatedly recall information in unpredictable ways. Here's how you do it. Study something for 15 minutes, then switch to something completely unrelated, do push-ups, stretch, listen to a podcast. Come back to the topic later, even for a 1-minute recap, and repeat the cycle. Your brain will remember faster with less effort because instead of mindlessly stuffing information in, you're forcing it to dig it up over and over again. If you liked the video, send it to that friend who's just as desperate for these tips as you are, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you don't show up, well, you're even dumber than I thought.